Okay, we are live. Yep. Hello, everyone. If you're joining us, thank you for joining. Happy Sunday to you. And welcome to yet another episode of the House of Chair Girls live show.
Hi everyone, welcome. Let me see. I'm just trying to share the link.
Okay, awesome. Hope you're doing well. Thank you so much for joining. Welcome to the House of Chair Girls live show. And happy Sunday to you once more. So today is an interesting one. While Ice is sharing the video on her platforms, just to give you an introduction to the show, as you can see from the description or the topic of the show today, we want to talk a little bit about feminism. Right? Feminism is a very huge topic. We cannot promise that within 45 minutes we are going to say everything about feminism, but the goal here is just to get an understanding, our own basic understanding of what feminism is and what it means to us, to you. So that is the whole idea. Just give our own insights on the whole feminism and just share some ideas, share some thoughts, give our insights. And again, it is a very broad topic and opinions might differ, which is okay. So just keep an open mind as we talk about this and do not hesitate to let us know what you think, to share your thoughts as you participate in the show. So thank you so much for spending it, for creating the time to be with us this afternoon. You all good eyes?
Almost 1 minute, please. 30 seconds.
All right, great. So while Ice tries to share, we appreciate you again for joining.
Yeah, I'm
Pump
good.
us hearts and please share the video. So again, the goal is just to broaden our audience so we can have a lot more people watching and just learning and sharing their thoughts again as we go through this. So thank you for joining, Mange. We see you. Thanks for creating the time. Yes, Ice.
Hi everyone, welcome to another show. Happy Sunday and thanks for joining. I hope we'll have a great time. Okay, I think we can write.
Yeah. Yes, so awesome. Again, what are we talking about today? We are talking about feminism. We are talking about who a feminist is and what feminism means to us, to you listening to us. Because, in as much as Ice and I are running this show, we do not have exactly the same, we do not look at feminism in the same way. She has her own thoughts about what it is, about how it affects her or how she lives with it, or whichever way. And I have mine. And so we do expect that as our listeners too, you have your own thoughts about it. And if you do not mind sharing, please kindly comment so that we can do this together. So thank you again. So without much ado, let's go ahead and first of all, look at what Oxford defines feminism to be, right? Oxford says, 1 second, let me show. Oh, why is it coming as a? That's fine. So, Oxford defines feminism as the advocacy of women's rights on the basis on the equality of the sexes, right? So, again, it's all about women's rights. So I know at some point in my life, I used to think that feminism was just a woman's thing, that only women advocate feminism. But I also, as goes on, as I grew older and wiser and more knowledgeable, I came across men that are serious feminists too, who are willing to stand for the rights of women. So just so you know, feminism is not a woman's thing. It is the right to fight for equality among the sexes. right? So it's about equal rights between the genders. So, Ice, anything to add on there?
Yeah, I think you're quite on spot. What feminism, as you said earlier, it's for me it's very subjective. It depends on the individual because there are a lot of things that are interwoven when it comes to feminism. They have this cultural part of it. You have religion, and with that, people believe in different things. Some people think that because maybe a typical example in the African setting that a woman is supposed to be the home keeper, which is most like that's an African culture that a woman is a home keeper. For others, it's not. It's like it has to be 50-50. In as much I personally know that there is nothing like 50-50. It can never be 50-50. Is it because of my culture? Maybe yes, maybe not. Okay. So feminism is subjective. Some others they think about religion. Oh, as a woman, you have to be submissive. What is submit? What do you mean by that? So it's kind of different. For me, it's subjective. For me, feminism is about treating another person the way you treat yourself, which is kind of very broad. It's about respecting people, their rights, respecting women, their rights, respecting their choices, and not pushing them to do what they don't want to do. So that's my point of view. It's about respecting people's choices or female women's choices. So that's how I see it. It's about respect.
Yes, again, and when you put it that way, and based on all the feminist movements that are out here, all the campaigns that have been held over time, and just so we know, over time, there's been different campaigns, different women's rights that have been fought for, including things like the right to vote. Years ago, women were not allowed to vote. These are some of the things that have changed, that have evolved over time. But again, these are just examples of some of the rights for women that feminist movements have fought for. There is the right to run for public office. There is even the right to work. And I believe that something like the right to work is one thing I know, of course, we still have very culturally based minded people or men who believe that their women should not work. Right? They'll tell you that the woman's place is to take care of the house. They will tell you that I'm not the kind of man that will empower my woman to work because my woman belongs at home. They have fought for things like earn equal pay. That is still an active fight. The equal pay one is still an active fight all over the world, I bet. But I know in majority of the places, in some places they are matching up, but in other places, I bet you that there is still discrepancy between a man and a woman's pay, even when they're doing the same job. Then there's also been that fight for to have equal rights within a marriage and even maternity leave. So these are some of the things that feminist movements have fought for. These are some of the women's rights that the feminist movements have stood out there and protested again and said, hey, this is what we want for women. We cannot just keep relegating women to the background. A woman is as good as a man. Yes, there is this Chimamanda's book that when I listen to it, it's a write-up. It's really not a book. It's just how we even describe that ice. It's more of an article where she talks of everyone should be a feminist.
It's a
And she said, okay, sure. So again, she talks about she's one person that I admire a lot. I know that she's one of Isis' favorites as well. And she talks about to be a feminist doesn't mean that you want to measure up with a man, right? We all know that naturally men are built to be physically stronger than women. So some people will tell you when they hear you or they get a clue of feminism in your tone, they'll be like, "Hey," they take it to the physical strength and stuff like that. But man, gone are those days. And do you by any chance know why this whole physical strength of a man comes up to be one of the strongest arguments that people use I think I read it somewhere. Just wondering if you. It comes from days back, like in the days of slavery, before more civilization and all of that.
For
Can
me,
you?
not even about it's not about physical strength, it's about biological build. So when people talk of feminism and they're saying, hey, treat a man and a woman, they are the same. No, they are not. Right? Physically, biologically, most men, I don't want to say all men, most men are stronger than women. But you still have
Yeah,
women stronger than men.
yeah.
You get it? So biologically they are different. So that part of it you can't argue that. But when it comes to other things we're talking about, and remember it's a socio-political movement. That advocacy is a socio-political movement, which you have people fighting towards some of those social aspects. Like Chimamanda is, it's her drive is mostly towards social aspects. And when you see somebody like this, this American politician, what's her name again? Alexandra Ocasio. They call her AOC. She's a House representative. She's a fighter. She's from New York. She's one of those people that is fighting for the rights of women when it comes to the political section,
That's
political part of it. The one women have the right to take office. A woman can be the president. A woman can be anything that they want to be in the political sphere. So biology I don't think about physical because it's biology. You can't even compare that. But I'm geared towards the religion, towards political, cultural, sociology and all that social
Yeah,
stuff.
awesome. Let's look at some comments. I see a comment from Valiant. He says, from a man's perspective, feminism is about treating other women how you want your daughter, sister, or mother to be treated. Okay, so again, as you said, I think this ties with what you said. It's about treating people the way you want to be treated, right? Then
Mhm.
he goes further to say the greatest setback to feminism is women who misconstrue feminism to mean challenging men. Yes, that is that radical part of feminism that I think you and I talked about briefly before
Yeah,
now, because it kind of affects the way the whole feminism concept. It as Vali calls it, is misconstrued, right? Because
yeah,
people take it now to mean different things, which of course is not what what I personally, because I don't want to judge another person's definition of feminism, but to me, feminism does not mean challenging a man. Never. Right. So I interrupted you. You were going to say something before I take the
yeah.
next comment.
It's and it's really radical. Part of it is the way it was brought to. I'm talking about Africa. The way it was brought to Africa. That communication, there was something wrong with it because it came as, oh, we have to challenge these people. You have to, what, like this common statement, what a man can do a woman can do
Oh,
it, but that sounds challenging. That's not, for me, that's a wrong phrase. That phrase is, it's kind of challenging. What a man can do a woman can do it better. That's how feminism was brought to Africa. So we have to challenge them, we have to show that we are better. No, you want them to respect you. And come to think of it, there are still women who are not feminists who still believe that a man is superior in all spheres. So you go and sit down in a, I was given a training once at the German military base in Hamburg, and it was on gender equality and all that. And we started with one of Chimemanda's TED Talks, which one of her TED Talks, and there was one woman in it who she kind of disagreed with everything that Chimamanda said. For her, from what I understood, is she doesn't even want to get to that point of comparison because she's already stronger. Like you even telling me that this inequality exists is making me not it's making me, it's showing that I don't even have rights. There was some subtle disagreement that she didn't even want to listen to it. She said there's nothing, all women are, all humans are equal. That's why she's even in the military. That's why she has gotten to this position. So people even refuse the fact that these discriminations it's happening.
exists.
So you have this group of people who are either they don't even want that topic to come up because they feel like for it to come up, it means there is some kind of discrimination happening. Then you have another group of people who are like, Why are you bringing this? It's our culture. Our parents, our forefathers says that our men are kings. We should respect them. We should honor them. We should be submissive. So you have this group of people who have different kind of ideologies around feminism.
Yeah, and that is right. So looking at it from the perspective from what you just said about the cultural part, like for example, why are we doing this even? Why did we decide to talk about feminism today? Why is it a topic of discussion to us? That is because somewhere within you eyes, or maybe within me, there is that acknowledgement, yes, that there is some level of discrimination. If we did not believe that there was some level of discrimination between men and women, we will not be talking about feminism. We'll
Of
be like that woman at the military base you just talked about, right? Just have a block and say, you know what, I don't want to talk about this because we are all human and we are all the same. That's somebody that has decided to not even think that there is any kind of discrimination between the genders. So yeah, thanks for bringing that up and for actually bringing in the differences, or let me not say differences, the different dimensions in which we're looking at this. And another thing that I wanted us to quickly have a glance on is when we talk about feminism. I know. Can you think of any instances where you have actually felt like, you know what the heck? Why are you treating me like this? That you've actually felt discriminated upon because you are a woman, right? Can you think of any of such instances again? Because some people don't really get it unless you give an example. And sometimes even when you give an example, they'll still be like, oh, come on. But if you don't mind sharing, can you think of anything?
yeah, I I cannot think of a particular instance, but I have, or there are so many instances where it's very subtle. For me, what I
Mhm.
observe, I've never had a situation where, like, maybe I cannot think of it right now, an upfront discrimination that somebody says because you're, in fact I've had it, but it's cultural. Let me rephrase, it's cultural. Typical example is this Q4. I'm wonder, like, why am I not supposed to see it? I've been discriminated not to see that because I'm a woman. That's a clear cut discrimination of when it comes to cultural aspects. That's part of it. Then we have, like, sitting in meetings where you're talking and you find out a man, they will just, you bring up a point and they'll not respond to you, or they'll just sideline you. A subtle dismissal of your point. It has happened so many times, but do you, at that point, you have to take it now upon yourself, like, hey, you have to hear me out and make them, and you don't have to be pushful or forceful, but just call it out, that I feel like I'm not being heard, and ensure that that happens. Because if you leave that one instance to pass, so many
Keeps
will
happening.
coming. So you have to call that out immediately, and don't call it individually. Call it at like, call it during that meeting. Call it
Like when
out
it happens.
when it happens. Call it out immediately for everybody sitting there to hear. And some people observe it and others will not see it. When that
Yeah,
happens
that's true.
in a meeting, you're not the only one noticing. People do notice it, but others might not notice it. I have that a lot coming at meetings, but once you call it
Yeah.
out, they will not happen again.
Let's take a few comments. If you can see comments, I probably don't want to reading all of these comments by myself. So I see Dominic. Thank you so much for joining. He says, yes, there is now a toxic feminism where women literally say they don't want men to exist, not give birth, marry men, and men not having opinions. Yeah, so that is that radical side of feminism that Dominic is bringing up again. The same thing that Vali mentioned earlier on, where what kind of feminism? And again, I would like to put this more in the part of Africa because that is our base, right? When feminism was brought to Africa, what were Africans thought as feminism? What were they told? Because sometimes if you just pick up a woman, like for example, what Dominic is mentioning here, some people are so radical about that feminism means, hey, my husband and I are equal. If I cook today, my husband cooks tomorrow, or if I'm washing the dishes, my husband is doing the kids. That is how some women look at feminism. That is that radical side of feminism that personally, again, remember, this is a whole, um, this thing is very subjective, as you said, eyes. Personally, That is not feminism to me. That is that part of culture that comes in, right? But when I look at feminism, I'll ask you to give an example of it. It's not been long. I went out with a friend to have dinner, and we're sitting. I invited him out for dinner, and we're sitting out at dinner. And this lady, this is in the US, right? It's not even like in Cameroon that you'll say it's a cultural thing, or you would say like in. I think Chimamanda has an example where she says she was in a restaurant somewhere in Nigeria. This is in the States, and this pretty white girl is serving us, and she comes. We give our orders and everything, and when she brings the bill, she hands it over to the man, right? To the guy I invited out for dinner. And he just pushes it back over to me. I take the bill, I slot in my card, I leave it right in front of me. I do not push it back, so it's right in front of me. When she comes for the booklet, the receipt booklet, she takes it away, swipes the card, takes the payment, she brings it back and she gives it to the man again. Right? What does that say? That just says that, hey, if this man and this woman are hanging out, this man is paying the bills. So you see that at first I used to think that this was a typical African thing, but it is not. It is really not. Because this is an experience I recently had in the States. And you're wondering, what makes you think that is this guy that is paying the bill? You took the card from me, you came and gave it to him, and I put my card in it, and you picked it from in front of me. You brought the card back and you decided to give it to him again. So this might be something that another person will say they don't notice, they don't see it. They will be like, oh, what? That doesn't mean anything. But the truth is, I see something in that. Maybe it's just me, but I definitely see something in that kind of an experience. You get it? Oh, we have a ton of comments in there. I see Diana Ming, thank you for joining. Standing up with Conan, start standing up with men who think womanhood is a costume. That's so fun. I think I've read that somewhere. And I see Uncle Larry, he says, Ice, you're right that feminism is a kind of movement. For a man, that is not something we want to entertain. But if feminism is something about advocating for women's rights, I'm all for it. The radical aspect of this narrative should be reviewed because that is what so many women are looking at. If we get this, well construed, you could even earn the support of so many men. Yeah, and that is right. It still has a lot to do with that, with people, the whole misconstrued, the whole idea of what is feminism. People are just overdoing things. Yes, Ice, you were going to say something. I cannot hear you. I don't know if the audience can. Please, if you're watching, can you confirm if you can hear Ice? Oh, okay. We lost him. Well, not him. We lost her briefly. Hopefully she'll be coming back. Yes, Sandrine, I see your comment about Ice and Quifor. Yes, Ice wants to see Quifor. Okay, yeah. Thank you, Dominic. Hopefully she will be able to join us back. We lost her audio, then now video. So let us know what you think. And again, thanks to all of you who are speak.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Sorry. So what I'm about to say right now will come out a little bit radical, but some women will come at me. But it's also the expectation. It's also the expectation. Let me use the typical bill example that you've given. People go out on dates, and when I talk about dates, I'm talking about just going out to eat, and you just have this expectation that a man is supposed to take care of the bill. What are you bringing to the table? When you have that expectation, even if it is with your regular female friend, there is a kind of disrespect that will come in at a certain point because they'll feel like I take care of you. So you have to listen when I talk. So women need to step up as well. Take care, take that conception, that misconception that men will take care of them. Or I want to get married only to a rich man. Why can't you be rich and get married to a man that is coming up? Why are women thinking like this? And it's a cultural thing. It has been embedded in us that we think that, oh, we get married. If I'm getting married today, this man is going to take care of me. Not only me, he's going to take care of my first
Your
generation, my
family.
second generation. If my father dies, this man is going to buy a coffin. If we have that, and what do you expect at the end of the day? If I take care of your entire family, your entire family, they have to listen when I talk. Even your father will have to listen when I talk. I'm not saying me, I'm just using an example. So with women as well, if you keep letting men take care of everything, they're going to disrespect you. They're going to discriminate against you because they know that, guess what, you're not bringing anything on the table. So we also need to step up and start taking care of this. Take care of some bills. Take care of the bill when you go out. Take care of the fuel when you, or gas when you use the car. Those little things, take care of those things so that you also gain your respect. Respect is earned, it's not given to you. Action, those little actions are going to help you earn more respect. And if you look at homes where you have people, to the couple, and both of them are bringing income to get in the household, you discover that the relationship, most of them are always different. But if you look at that relationship where just a man is going out there hustling and coming back, it's also different. Also, some men don't want their women to work, which is part of that radical feminism. Like, why don't you want your woman to work if she really wants to work? So that's why I say feminism is very subjective. It's very, very subjective. And when you add it to culture, it just becomes more complex and complicated.
Yeah, and again, just piggyback on that one, what you just said is a whole, you cannot eat your cake and have it, right? If we want to be equal, it's just like hoping that, for example, I think I saw a skit once of this feminism idea and what the guy was portraying. The guy is a feminist. He does respect from what I gathered was that he does agree that there should be equality. But what the skit portrayed was more like, okay, we're in an office, right? People are working, and there is a natural disaster. You get it? Ideally, what normally happens is they try to
Save the
let they will save all the older people first, then women. So he argued, he was like, okay, why is it that when they save older people, they come to women before men, but at the same time they want these women and the men to be paid the same? So this is him bringing up that whole idea. So this is just like a more corporate example of what you just gave about the home, right? That women. So his question was, why will women expect to be treated nicely? They'll say, hey, you can't talk to a woman like that, all those kinds of things. But at the same time, you want you and I to have the same pay. You want you and I to be able to run for the same office. So again, these are just some of those things that will come up if you when you start talking about feminism. Ice, can you see the comments? I definitely want for you to read
um
some of those comments.
so Gabby says, thanks for joining. Please share the video as well. So let me ask you both this. I'm all for women's right, but but there are are there instances where you think women themselves put this aspect of feminism on overdrive,
Overdrive. Yep.
thereby putting their male counterparts on defensive, not necessarily because they are anti-feminist, but simply because they are being undermined uh, under the umbrella of feminism.
Yep. Again, you see, it's still coming back to that, to the whole misconstrued side. There's a ton of women out here who, when they hear about feminism, when they say, oh, there is this feminist movement, they want to belong. But what this feminism really means, I try not to judge people's knowledge, but I feel that they don't really understand it. And I was looking at the comments before Uncle Gaby's comment, and I think it was Dominic, and he says something like, why do you think okay, no, that's not the one. I think he says it relates to the same thing. If you think feminists want superiority over equality, right? And when that superiority starts coming, that's when you'll see men now start taking the defensive. I think, just from what Uncle Gabi says, if feminists were to come out and not try to dominate, many men will not fight.
That's the
I
challenge we're talking about. You're coming to challenge, not to be an equal.
Yes, yes. So
But
you see,
then,
it centers around.
just from just to add to that, most of the challenge, that fight, you see them coming up aggressively because of what they've experienced. That plays a lot. But if I know that you've disrespected me, you're disrespecting me just because I am a woman, it's going to, the way I come to you is always different to that man that I know that is treating me because I'm human.
Mm-hmm.
So if I notice that, hey, if I'm at work and I have two colleagues that are men, one treats me as human and the other one treats me as a
As
woman,
a woman.
I will always treat them differently. I'll be aggressive towards that person that treats me because I'm a woman, not as a human. Because sometimes it's very insultive. I
Yeah.
told you my example the other day when I went to cover an event, and this guy was an MC, and he kept mentioning that, oh, because this woman, the photo, I'm just a photographer. Stop doing that. And he kept making it a thing. And I had to walk up to him and I say, stop. You're being very sexist at this point. I appreciate what is happening. So it happens every day. And if you look at Chimamanda will say, stop telling me that I'm the female writer. Just say I'm a writer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So those are people act differently because of history, experiences, and all that.
Yeah. And again, it still boils down to the whole why when you act, if you just pick a random man, someone, you ask them who a feminist is, they'll tell you that a feminist is a woman who doesn't like men.
Mm-hmm.
They'll tell you that a feminist is a woman who doesn't wear lip. I think I really enjoyed the way Chimamanda put this. A woman who doesn't wear lip gloss, shiny lip gloss, or high heels. Or a feminist is a woman who doesn't wear roll on. Like a feminist is a woman who wants to be a man. By the way, don't men wear roll on? I wonder.
Yeah.
But so
It's Go ahead.
it's just what it means to different people and what people are taking it to mean, right? I believe that that's why some men are very defensive. Okay, Gaby, if you ask answering your question, I bet that some men become very defensive when the women now don't look at feminism as, hey man, treat me like a human being, right? Instead of treating me like a woman, even though again when they say treating me like a woman, sometimes it's okay to treat you like a woman, right? But again,
Which is
this is
also very subjective. Treat you, what does that really mean? Treat me as,
me. Yeah.
yeah.
What do you mean by, hey, treats me like a woman? Or somebody will say, hey, you don't talk to a woman like that,
But a woman
right?
can to a man anyhow. So it's just double standard. So
Yeah.
it's about respecting people as humans and being kind to everybody. When you have, for me, I look at it where you have that mindset that everybody is human, you're gonna act. It's like the racial thing as well, racism, where, and I know it's everybody can relate to this. If you're at work and you notice that one person is racist, another one just treats you right, the racist person, you always kind of hurt with them, and
Mhm.
it's different.
Yeah, that's right. Because looking at this, there's just like a ton, as I said at the beginning of the show, there's a ton of different dimensions and hey, let me read the comment and let me add that you both are. Thank you so much, Uncle Gabriel. We appreciate you for spending the time with us, spending your Sunday afternoon chatting with us on here. Thank you so much. This is fun to us, and we hope that it can be educative too to anybody that stumbles upon the video. So, yeah, so I was also going to talk again in the sense that, as for example, one of the other things that I've read about feminism that actually made me just smile in the background is, the whole idea of women not wanting to achieve to a certain level because If a woman becomes this powerful, if a woman becomes this rich, if a woman becomes this independent, then your chances of getting a man become this slim.
I think it's different these days. Most want broke women.
Sorry, that men want broke women.
Most men don't want broke women. Or maybe the men, some of the people I talk to, they're like, you
Yeah,
see, I remember when I was in I want to tell you a funny story. When I was back in Cameroon and I just graduated university, and you know, when you graduate university, people start talking about marriage and all that. And my friend said, "Oh, all boys are going to at the ENS junction in Bambili because the women are already. It's certain that they have
matricle.
coming in. There's a matricle. They are getting married to matricle. It was very common. So I don't think it's yeah. Some men will just want them to bring money, but also a man that doesn't want a woman to succeed is a man that has low self-esteem. That's my point of view.
But eyes, on the other side, let me tell you a true story. Again, I'm sure you're going to say that this is cultural, but I know that hopefully Mamiche is not watching this show. Hmm? I know that hopefully she's not online, even though I see. Thank you, Mamulu, for joining. On the other side, I remember about a year ago or two when I moved from California and I came and I told Mamiche that, hey, I want to buy a car, and I was showing her the kind of car I like. Again, anybody that knows me knows that I love cars, right? I like to drive the big cars. I love luxury cars. And I told her the kind of car I wanted to buy. And she said something, no judgment to her, just like another mother would tell the child. Like she said, when you start buying cars like that, you scare men away from you. When a man sees you driving that kind of a car, they will think that, hey, if that kid drives that kind of motor, you should go fit meet up with it. That is what my mom said.
With the perception that he thinks that he's going to take care of the car, right? And another thing, when was Mamiche born and when were you born? So it's time, history, and all that. So with that perception that, hey, if I'm getting married to you, the person might be scared that you're going to take care of the bill. But if somebody is coming knowing that, oh, she's already got it, and maybe I'm just bringing it to add on, I would grow and we get big together.
Yeah. So it's mindset, right? So it's mindset. So what
I
I told her,
Yeah.
my response to her was, well, I was like, hey, if a man thinks that I'm threatening because I drive this kind of car, then that man is not the right kind of man for me, right? Because that's just a sign that we are not going to be able to make it as a couple. Now, you know how you don't even want to know what her response was.
Yeah, so these are just subjective aspects. For another woman, for another man, he'll go there knowing that, oh, like as I hear right now, some another man will go, all right, there, oh, this woman is rich already there. Let me go there, so I don't have to buy her a car. I'll just have to put fuel in the car. So it's mindset.
Yep, that is right. So there's a ton of these different examples of what feminism and how do you look at it. So if you're listening to us, like, what are your thoughts? Do you think that it is right, when women say, "Hey, we want equality, we want equality"? What is that limit? Is there a line? I think I asked you this question before this show. Like, is there a line? Is there a guideline to feminism? Right? What is that limit? How much equality can women demand? And how much of it? Again, I know you're going to come back to your subjective response because that is true. But again, to people who are listening, how much can a woman demand to be equal to a woman? And when do you think that they are going overboard? Right? At what point do you think that, oh, you see, these women are overdoing it now? Is there a line? Do you think that there is a clear cut line? Do you think that the line is gray? As I know, I think that it's gray, but do you agree with her? Do you think that there is a clear cut line that says, hey, this is feminism. This is fine. It's okay for women to ask to be equal. But if you go this far, then it isn't anymore. So let's know your thoughts. I see comments. Dominic says, true, here in Africa, Ghana, Men don't want broke women anymore. If you can't provide for yourself, then you don't have to date or marry. Life is expensive. Yeah, things are changing. Gone are those days when men just married women to keep at home. I bet that the world is evolving. And Ice, can you please take the comment from Uncle Gabi?
Yeah, he says, what do you say about a woman who also says that certain things should be done by men because they are men? Of course, this now leads me to upbringing. It leads me to upbringing because certainly we're kind of, I would say we, and I'm talking of we as Africans, we're enforcing discrimination in a very subtle way, because the way we, in a household like ours where we have boys and girls, and they say, oh, if they have to do this hard job, this girl should do it, or the girls should go cook and the boys should go split wood and things like that. Of course, it happened. It happens. And it happened. I don't know, within us, do you think that we had that clear cut discrimination that women? I don't think so, because the boys did almost the same
Yeah,
thing.
the boys did. They mopped the floor. They did the dishes. They did
They were
cook.
involved in cooking.
Right? They
We,
did.
I was involved in everything because
Yeah, I would not say that our home, like the house of Che, I would really not say that. I cannot really draw that clear line to say, hey, this was a boy chore and this was a girl chore. Because growing up, I know there were evenings that the boy had to cook the fufu. When
yes,
we pound our chew in the morning, the boys pound their chew. They peel cocoyam the same way that we peel the
they
cocoyam. That
raw
so
cook
they
liver.
cook arrow, they cook the liver. You get
So
it?
yes, so it's basically around upbringing. You have to bring your kids up in the way that then they can do everything. First of all, it's good for them, because
Empower them. Mhm.
empower them, knowing that hey, you can cook, which is something that everybody should know how to do, to cook their own food. They can
Yeah.
cook, and not just, so when you start from that, little things like, and this lady used this as well. If you have two kids playing on the playground and all of them both they fall on the floor, or they hurt themselves and they're crying, you'll be with like the girl like, oh, don't cry,
It's
sorry, and the boy
okay.
like, be a
Be a
man.
man.
Don't cry like that.
Boys don't cry.
Boys
Men don't cry.
cry. So things, little things like that, they kind, when they grow up, they know that, oh, because I'm a man, I'm not supposed to show emotion, and they're
And
that.
that is why they have these fragile egos,
Yes,
because they are so afraid, or they have been taught, they have been brought up to think that men are supposed to be
be-
macho men. That's why it's easy to hit a man's ego, right? Because the moment a man feels like, again, Uncle Gabi, you see, this thing is subjective. I know you asked this question before. That's why you can see us coming back to it again, right? So a man, if you see a man that just feels threatened by a woman who is capable of doing things, that is because that man was probably brought up to believe that this thing that this woman is doing is a manly thing. I've had a man tell me that, hey, don't sit like that, just sit like a man. And God, I cannot relax and chill again because I sit in a certain way. And he told me that when you sit like that, it makes me feel like you are trying to overpower me. So
yeah,
it's it's just a funny. Yeah, we talk about it, we laugh about it now. We're talking because we're just having a conversation. We're again in the course of doing this, our intention is to educate. Our intention is to, like, okay, even if we don't answer your questions, to trigger your mind so you can do your own research. You can go again and say, but hey, what is this whole feminism thing? And if I am one, like, are you even one? I see one of the first comments we had was, why are you even talking about this, right? And we are all human. So again, that's why we talk about it. We'll have a chat, give our insights, and again, just want to know what you all think and
yeah.
whatnot.
a very broad topic, and it's regarded in the world differently, because when you look at Africa, it's clear cut. There's so like feminism, you can see it every day. You can take 5 minutes and experience five different instances. But in the West, it's very subtle. It's
Yeah.
very, very subtle. If you are not a woman, you men will hardly see it in the West, but women will feel it. They will
Yeah.
see it. So like, but in Africa and other Asian countries, what is happening in Iran right now, when the woman was killed because she didn't have her hijab and all those things that are that political part of it. So in some countries, there are still countries in the world that women are not allowed to drive.
Yep.
There are still
Of
countries in the world
course.
are allowed to drive, and women are fighting right now. It's happening. It's happening out there, and it's a big movement. So we should be. Has it changed? Yes, historically it has improved, but there's still a long way to go, and there has to be. It has to come from a place where to make people understand it, like understand the actual message. It has to be communicated clearly. You're not
Clearly.
challenging. You're actually just seeking for your rights. Where the Hillary Clinton says women's rights are human rights are women's right, or women's right are human rights, something like that. So just to create that equality, to treat people as humans and not just because they are women.
Yep. But not deprive a human being of something because that person is a woman,
Yeah.
right? To take away that whole deprivation. I see. I don't have an answer to that question,
Um,
but
place or part of the world takes this whole feminism thing too seriously. I would
black people.
I would say the entire world, they take it seriously. In the US, it's now a political thing in the US, because
Mhm.
you know what happened with Michelle Obama.
Oh
Part of
yeah.
it was because she was black, and part of it because she was a woman. She was judged from her skin color to her hair to the way she talks and everything, from the way she stands and the way she walks out, because she was most of it was because she was a woman as well, coming out as strong as her very powerful husband. That's a power couple. People who believe and they know that everybody, both of them are kind of good where they
Of
are.
what they do.
But
Hmm.
I recently watched one of Michelle's interviews, where she said, as a woman, even though you know what you want, you're fighting to get it. But because that biological part of you that you give birth to kids, you know when to step back and
Yep.
push for the man to go a little bit. Then you do what you're supposed to do for your family, and you join again. Then it's that man's place to welcome you back. Like, hey, I know you've been down for like a year or two or five. I'm going to support you to achieve those goals that you want to achieve. So it's about your own family dynamics. It's about your personal beliefs and all that.
Yeah, that's right. I see another question. I think about this. Dominic says, lastly, why do you think feminists are pushing for more female CEOs and government leaders, but not for more females to enter the top 20 most dangerous professions in the United States, which are even more male dominated than business or politics? Do feminists not believe in equality between the sexes?
I don't know the most dangerous professions that you're talking about. You just want to list some, but I think it's about equality at the workplace, and just having. For me, this question would be like, why are you asking that we have more black people involved in the corporate world in a particular office? It's about the equality path. We want more women to be CEOs so that they can have access to that income. We want more women to have access to income. I have an NGO which its primary mission is to have women economically empowered. Because women don't have enough access to income, they need to push women to these positions so that they can take care of the women who are behind them. So it's very important. So they have experienced lack of income. Just a woman will be able to understand that part of it, that necessity of having women have access to income. So I feel that's one of the reasons. And as I said, it's kind of the same or slightly the same to the black thing. We have more black people in certain positions so that they can just for a child to get up and know that if a woman can be a CEO, I can get another girl child can be a CEO. It's very important. It's very important for the girl child to see that, hey, there is a woman who is a CEO up there, so I can be that as well. But just having men growing up and just knowing that, oh, just men can be presidents, no girl child, it will be difficult for them
I will
to
not even think
feel
of it.
motivated to think of it that they can be presidents as well. So it's important to have representatives in all parts or all sectors in the world.
Yep. And I think that from that there are more women who are actually getting, like, again, I would definitely be interested. I think I'm going to do some research, and I'll definitely be interested in seeing those top 20 dangerous professions that women are not in. But again, one thing that we are not doing here, that I personally not do when I talk about feminism, is compare physical strength. You get it? Ghana, though, yes, I know that all of this came from back in the days before civilization and all of that. People needed physical strength to survive, right? And that is where the whole idea of the man being the head of the house came from. This is based on my knowledge, right?
Yeah, it's let's you can but like let's think about it. A man is technically in most cases just a figurative head, and a woman is like the operational head. You can go bring all that income. Who is that manager? Who manages that? And most men can attest to this, that their women, those married men can attest to this, that is because of their women. Some might frustrate them, but men who are still married to the wives that they have for 30, 20, 10, 15 years because they have a good woman that helps them to operate well, operate better. When you have a good woman, even your career, as some of the men say, even your career is better. So men are kind of figurative heads and women are kind of functional
Yeah,
heads.
so that's why I never really do that physical comparison
Yeah,
thing. For me, the physical strength is not equality, it's not feminism. That's the truth about it.
yeah.
And as we say, feminism is very subjective. I personally pick and choose what it is to me, so long as what kind of equality am I looking for? To me, it works like that. It doesn't have to be like that for you, Ice, or
What
anyone
is
else
strength?
listening.
What strength are you talking about? Is that about a strength of beating somebody up? But come to think of it, when you, typical example in Akum, when you go out to the farm, you go with your wife, and you come back to the house. All of you did that work, and the woman comes back. She has to cook. She has to clean. And the man is resting and waiting for his food. Come on, what is
Yeah.
it? Where is the physical here? So it's just the biological. I'm going to stop and uh, let's
Take a deep breath.
take a
Take
deep.
a deep breath. Yeah, but again, it still boils down to the same thing. You see a couple, right? A man and a woman, they can have the same profession. They are, let's say, for example, both of them are nurses or medical doctors, or both of them are, well, something. They're doing the same thing. Maybe they are both house builders, or they're anything. They are contractors somewhere. They both go out at 7 a.m. They come back home at 5 p.m. And a woman still takes that step to, like, hey, what are we going to eat? Right? So we are looking at it and saying that, hey, you know what? It is, you remove this from my mouth, Gaby. It is just the way, personally, I look at it as the way God created us.
Yeah.
Because I believe in God, because I believe in the story of creation, right? I'm not the person that will come out and say, hey, you know what? Men and women equal, the whole submissive thing. I believe in a woman being submissive, but what is submissive, right? What is the definition? What does submissive mean to you?
Let me give you an example. I spoke with somebody last week and I asked him like what kind of woman do you like? He says I like a submissive woman. This is an American. So I asked him like what is submissive like to you? What does that mean to you? He said I want a woman that when I work and I come back home, she will know that she'll be aware that I'm tired. She will not ask a lot of questions. She will just take care of us. We'll cook together, we'll do things together, and we'll build together. Not a woman that will want us to eat out all the time. For him, that is submission,
There
right?
you go.
It will mean something totally different to another person.
Yeah.
So It's, as I say, there is a gray line and it's subjective to the.
Yep. Put a group of Cameroonian women or African women together and talk about submissive, right? They'll tell you all kinds of crazy things. Or ask an African man, or again, I'm using Africa because that is my base. Those are the most people I talk to about things like this, right? Like, hey, what does it mean? They'll tell you the submissive mean, like, hey, you do everything your husband says, you do whether it's right or wrong, so long as Papa Tokan is correct. So the definition of it. So again, to me, this is me answering that question, Uncle Gabi. What does the Bible or religion say about this? Personally, I have been brought up in a religion that teaches me that, hey, you are a woman, right? The same way that this same religion teaches me that, hey, that someday I was created from the rib of a man. I'm supposed to be submissive to a man that I get married to, and the man is supposed to love me, right? And if we do these things right, if you love your wife, you will not hurt somebody that you love, right? If we start by looking at it, I will not disrespect somebody that loves me, right? So it is a two-sided thing. It is something that we always see a problem with it when people start looking at it to at their own advantage. Like the man that will boast and say, hey, I am the man here, you have to listen to me, you have to be submissive. That is not what submissive means to me. So bringing in my feminist tendencies, my own belief of what feminism is, if I were to look at it in this light, I'll be like, yes, I'll respect a man. I'll respect any man, every man, right? It's not about the one that I get married to. It's about just respecting humans, respecting a man, humans, and just expecting that same respect back, mutual, making it mutual. You get it? And nothing about strength comparison for real. Like nothing. It's the
That's why,
same thing. We'll start comparing why men don't give birth. There's just
yeah, strength.
tons of
Even strength can be subjective. You can. Is it physical strength? Is it mental strength? Is it? What are you talking about? So it's, as I said,
yep.
do what works for you. If you're married, do what works for you. If you're a woman out there, be aware, call out those instances of discrimination immediately they happen. Don't hold, call it out immediately, and don't try to make a scene about it, because nobody will listen to you when you're shouting and you're talking. If you come out in a very respectful way, that is respecting yourself in that instance,
Mhm.
and talking in a way that people can hear you and don't shout about it, call it out immediately. And if you're a man out there who is a feminist, keep doing your thing. You're doing the right thing, and we thank you for your for contributing to the female um what was it, I want to say walk of fame. No,
So the female fight
fight
for equality.
equality, especially.
Oh, my eye. All right, this was great. We've
Yeah,
clocked again. I We're almost an hour, way more than our regular 50 minutes target. And again, my eye is just telling me that it's time for this. It's time for us to go. So
yep.
we definitely appreciate each and every one of you that joined. We
One more time.
appreciate your comments. We appreciate your thoughts. This was quite an interactive one. And again, do not hesitate to reach out to us with any questions. Um, Share your thoughts, share the video so we can reach a wider audience. And for real, I read Uncle Gabi's question. My eye is tearing up.
That just came in.
Mhm,
Oh, last.
mhm.
What did he say? I can I saw it and it just.
How would you advise women who fight for equality without insulting?
Have you ever, when you
Wait, he says, wait, let's see. I think he wants to rephrase that. So my eyes are tearing up.
yeah, it's. But by the way, for those watching, please share, send us likes, send us stars, please. Plum hearts. I see 7 people watching. I Can you please share, please, and plum
We
hearts. Thank you.
And just so you know, this is also being streamed on YouTube. So if you know someone that is not on Facebook, but you think it would be a good topic for them, do send them over to Solange Chair We are also streaming this live on YouTube for those people who are not on Facebook. Also, he means without insulting their male counterparts. So women who advise, so how would you advise women who fight for equality without insulting their male counterparts? Yeah, but I guess that is what we've just been talking about, right? We can do this without necessarily being insultive,
Yeah.
right? I bet that we can do it. Just acknowledging, first of all, that we are all human. We want to be treated the way we want others. We want, oh, how is that? What's that golden rule? We want to treat others the way we expect to be treated. And I always believe that if you have this mindset, you will really not even have such a problem in this world. If you just if you're mean to someone, expect that. So if you're being mean to someone, ask yourself, how will it make you feel if someone else was that to you? So personally, let me say my thoughts, and then Ice, you can say yours and you close the show. So
Yeah.
personally, I would say to just put the limits, right? When you talk to, if you're a woman who believes in equality, like, hey, just build. I personally believe that there are certain things that can be equal, and there are also those things that God that created us, right, made it on purpose that it should be a man's thing and a woman's thing. God did not say that they should pay a man more money than a woman. God said that a man should love women and that women should respect their men. God did not say that. By saying that women should respect men, he did not mean that men should not respect women also. So it is a mutual thing. That is how I see it. That is how even what my religion teaches me, that is how I choose to learn it. And that is what I live by. And in as much as I try my best to make sure that I don't condone disrespect, I don't condone with it, I don't take it, I let you know there and then that it is wrong and you don't do that to me. I still try to do it in a way that is not insultive, right? I just lay my points clear, point blank, and move on.
Yeah. So mine is like when you know something is wrong, you have to even fight for it, even if it's cultural. Typical examples: the female mutilation that is happening, that was happening in Ghana, in Ethiopia and Kenya. It was their culture, but they came to realize that that was wrong, and even the government was fighting against that. So when you know something is wrong and you see a situation as a man, you see a fellow man discriminating against a woman, and you know that is wrong, call it out as well. Men should also start calling out women. And for women who want to relay their message, communicate that, hey, I feel discriminated upon because I'm a woman, insulting will never get you through. Try talking to your child by insulting them and see if they're going to listen. Then what more of another person?
An
So
adult.
let an adult learn how to communicate clearly without insulting or sending out or shouting, all those things. Just learn clear cut communication and all that. So I feel like we can do it. And at the end of the day, do what works for you personally, and as a couple, do what works for you. And I think the world would be a better place if we're just kind and we treat people like humans. So.
Awesome. You're supposed to close the show, madam.
So thank you very much for your likes, for the comments. I want to thank Uncle Gebi for coming. I'm still waiting for you. You know that he's leaving very soon. You know what I'm talking about. Dominic, Sandrine, Vali. Who am I seeing again? Uncle Larry. Thank you all for sharing. For those who are watching online, for those that did not comment, thank you for commenting, for not commenting, but thanks for listening. Until next Sunday, we don't take your time for granted. We thank you very much. And if you have topics that you want us to talk about, please send a message directly to Solange or myself, and we're going to make that happen. We appreciate you, we love you, and stay blessed. Happy what's coming up? Thanksgiving for those who
Yes. Happy Thanksgiving to those who celebrate, and we'll talk to you next Sunday.
yeah.
Stay blessed and bye bye.
Bye.